This is the Lydian Spin. It's Tim Dahl here in Detroit with Lydia Lunch. Got caught in a little snow, and now we're in a sound check, so the intro will be just this. Allie Smith, this week's guest.
This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl sitting here in freezing cold Cleveland at a rock and roll Airbnb, talking today to Allie Smith, author of The Ballad of Speedball Baby, Laws of the Bandit Queens, Words to Live By from 35 of today's most revolutionary women. I'm also in it, her amazing photography book, and Momma Love, How the Mother Half Live. Hey, Allie.
Heyo. I'm
Hello.
good.
You're in the UK.
I am. I jumped ship, man.
I've done it before. I might do it again. How long have you been and where are you living?
I'm in a place called Norwich, which is 2 hours or an hour and a half out of London. I know we all
Yep.
have to orient ourselves to London, but it's a fantastic liberal bubble artistic city. I've been here for 2 years and I'm loving it.
I don't blame you. You got out just in time.
I saw shades of things to come, and I'm not always right, but sometimes I do think I have a bit of an instinct. And I was like, oh yeah, I think it might be time to go after a
I mean,
lifetime.
the whole world's like this. I mean, Brexit too. So, I mean, obviously you're in a specific bubble, but it's kind of everywhere these days, it feels like.
Yeah, it does feel like fascism is a bit of it's on trend right now.
The
Well,
most.
my party is factism, not fascism. And what's
Mm.
interesting to me is same. Not only same as it ever was. I'm saying the same freaking things I've said for 40 years
Hmm.
because they're all the same. The
Yeah.
situation has not changed. It just goes in a circle. My latest mantra is bring me the heads of Elon Musk, Netanyahu, Putin, Trump Jr. 2 and 3, and JD Vance, who's sometime I'm in right now, and I'd like to have a barbecue and put him on it.
Yeah, piece of work. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because I do feel like in some ways, I don't know if this is just if this is true or not, but we've been, like you said, we've been saying this stuff
Yeah,
for really, and it feels like a little bit like people generally, like the general culture is now saying, wait a minute,
yeah.
these guys are fucking awful. And we're like, absolutely. Welcome to the revelation of horror. Yeah, it
It's
does.
time.
Maybe
Yeah.
only way through, maybe the only way through this hyper capitalism. I don't know. I'm hoping that's
Well,
it's
the thing is, we both have a tendency because you've done articles on gun violence, on all kinds of subjects. On you've written for the Guardian, the Observer, the Village Voice, New York Times. You talk a lot about the same things that I talk about. I mean, we're essayists, we're not solutionists because we don't know what the solution is, but we do both say it is time to confront the cococracy.
Is that possible without it being violent? I mean, usually these big shifts are usually violent historically. So I guess that's why people are still intimidated, even though we're at this like beyond the 11th hour.
Well, I mean, everything has a form of violence, right? I mean, I do look at
Sure.
the uprising of the left right now, which I'm touched and moved and I think is wonderful. And I recognize the difference is that they will never show up armed. And so, for me, that's a good line. But I don't know what it means in terms of efficacy, But, violence has been used against women always, always,
Well,
always, always.
violence has actually settled almost every debate or situation.
Hmm.
I mean, because are you going to really fight violence with peace? And one of the issues is, and you can take this seriously or sarcastically from me, but we do outnumber men. We just don't outpower them with ammunition. And I'm not saying that we'd every, the thing is there's just such an imbalance. And I don't know, is intellectual violence enough to readdress the imbalance? Not really sure what the solution is because
No,
you can't kill all the enemies.
no, but you got yeah, I don't know either at all. But like Giselle Picot in France, I of course am excited about her. flipping the narrative, insisting that the shame be flipped. And that is an exciting movement in life. That said, she's also admitted fully that her life is completely ruined. So, whereas when I was, sexually attacked, there was absolutely no opportunity or forum for me to tell anybody about it. And we were all sort of, I don't want to speak for you or anybody, but I mean, we were all just sort of like muscling through.
Well,
And
excuse me, but
narratives.
I did speak about it, and I think everyone should speak about it. But again, this is a subject very important to me because I think in knowing, I blame mothers. I don't blame the victims of any violence, and women, weirdos, gay, queer, outsiders, artists are always going to be the subject of attacks by the insane patriarchy and society as a whole. But I just wish women were trained from the age of 6 how to deal, first of all, not to expect that the world is going to be how you want it to be or that there's going to be equality, but how to deal with sexual, physical, psychological, and psychic violence. Nobody teaches us that. This is the problem, more so because complaining is just not the solution. And we have the right to complain, but we need to train our daughters to defend themselves. And we need to teach our sons that it's okay to cry and not, you don't have to always act like a man, right? Act like a human fucking being.
Yeah. We're trying. You and I are trying. Why is it not getting, what's going on? No, my son, I will tell you, is fighting the good fight. So
how old is he?
There's a 15.
Amazing. Thank you for having a good one.
Thank you.
And look, we know a lot of great men, and it's not just about men, it's about the imbalance of power, and it's about disrespect for other human beings. But it's also, I mean, women used to be warriors. We have to get back that warrior spirit, and you just don't have to accept. And now, not all forms of violence are the same. It would be great to just start teaching women to defend themselves against what is inherently a stupid male ego attempt at just dominating everything.
Well, I mean, the majority of white women in America voted for Trump. So where do we start here?
Daddy issues.
Really, I don't
Daddy issues for somebody who has a mommy issue, who marries immigrants, then wants all the rest of them to leave.
I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, I mean, you frozen. Are we still going?
Yeah,
I'm here.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, it's dense, isn't it? I mean, like that self-loathing, internalized misogyny is real, I mean, we all process it every day, as far as I'm concerned. I know that I still do, even though I've lived my life in defiance of it. So, yeah. I remember the first election, Trump round one. There were women in Texas, I was so excited by this, who were meeting in the woods at night to figure out how to disseminate information that would undermine his
back to the goddess.
Beautiful, right? But they had to, of course. The sad flip of that is because they'd lose their businesses, their husbands, their credibility in the community, blah blah blah, XYZ. We know that, but they were doing it. And how fucking exciting.
I started saying many decades ago that there is one really simple act of revolutionary resistance that everybody can do, which is stop spending fucking money. Know where every dollar goes, because it goes into the enemy's pocket. Now, I think that it's February 28th is like anti-consumer, like do not buy or spend any money at all. This is like a day of national consumer revolt. And I think that we have to I think it's just a really important and simple thing to do is stop buying shit, recycle everything, trade with friends. We can't all grow our own food. We know we're eating poison in this country. But I mean, every dollar is feeding into the enemy's wallet. And that's a problem. And especially when corporations have taken over some of the businesses we thought were cool at one point. They've all been co-opted.
Well, who's the guy? Yeah, there's some like one of the big balls guy.
Oh yeah.
I try not to engage too much, but like I've heard about big balls.
You mean like a 19-year-old who the autistic genius hired to get everyone's information?
AKA big balls, because who doesn't love big balls? Yeah. What is he? He's in the, what is it called? He's going to inherit the fortune from some sort of like hippy dippy popcorn company. Am I right about that?
I think so.
It just doesn't fucking matter. The thing is, this is the good part, right? Like the outing of this sort of like, well, we know the good, we know the bad, we know the Democrats are this, we know the Republicans, we know New Yorkers are this. Like at my end of before I left New York, Jesus Christ, there was a huge Trump contingent in my Lower East Side neighborhood, and I
Yep.
don't give it
But
anymore.
it's kind of the Stockholm. I look at it like the Stockholm syndrome. Or you know what I mean? Or maybe even the stock syndrome. People think they're going to get rich because an idiot who was born rich bankrupted all of his companies and now wants to buy everything else, including countries. I just heard today that one of his butt buddies wants to rename when they buy, Greenland, red, white, and blue land. Now, it doesn't get any dumber. Every day it gets dumber. Every day it gets dumber. You know, Trump 0.0. I did do my dump Trump commercial. It's still up on YouTube.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
You know, but the thing is, I mean, you know, look, we are off the grid in many ways. I mean, meaning off of their grid. We continue to do exactly what we want to do. We create as artists. We live in our own realm. We have our own communities. Mm-hmm. And really, if we wanted to just say, fuck you, I don't give a fuck, I'm out. But we can't, because we do feel there is a moral or a psychological or a psychic imperative to speak out against that which is always same as it ever was. Well, how is it still this way? How is it still this way?
Well, I mean, I'd say that the Democrats hog up all the room for any reasonable criticism of Republicans, because if you actually tell the truth, that's not allowed in the Democratic Party. I mean, going back to 2016, I mean, when Hillary was Secretary of State, there was that massacre of indigenous labor Honduran women. So we were talking about women working together, how to deal with this. Hillary Clinton has backed all types of violence towards women. So,
well, I mean, look, but the problem is this, Tim. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. You can't. There's so few women in positions of power that the few that do get there act like men and basically are war whores as well. So, I mean, and right now, when the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend, like a Liz Cheney or like Liz Cheney, this is outrageous. But there's so few examples of women in positions of power that have run amok, and Hillary Clinton is one of them. She's a war whore. I didn't want her. I didn't want Bill Clinton, one of the most charismatic liars and devastators. They all are. Anybody who makes $1 million should not be telling the rest of us how to fucking live, because they don't know how it is we live.
Yeah.
Well, Hillary loved Kissinger. That was one of her heroes. So the Democratic Party.
I love Kissinger. Adam Kissinger for president.
Oh, well, that's a different one. Yes,
I'm gonna have to start stalking him. He's a hottie. He's smart. He got out of Congress.
Who's he? Tell me who he.
He was with Liz Cheney, January 6th committee.
Oh, okay.
No, you should. He takes Trump down on every opportunity. He was in Congress, but he got out because he knew it was just too much bullshit. Kissinger, not Kissinger. Factism, not fascism.
Well, you know, interesting too, because I think I've sort of had to face this idea that I kind of thought that we were all collectively, I don't know if I really actively thought this, but intuitively thought like the world wants to evolve. Like we sort of agree that some things are shit and we're trying to work past them, but what that looks like is quite different for me to that person. So I'm looking at the differences. How can I get past the differences? Yeah. And what I've had to realize finally, I guess through my very thick head, I don't know, is that they're not interested. It is absolutely the different goals. And I always knew corruption, XYZ, but I thought basically there was humanity at the core of it. I don't feel that anymore. I feel like, wow, people really do make decisions just based on self-interest and transactional bullshit. And that's
and I do blame the uprising of the internet and like culture and just the devastation of the human brain by being only to like send out 140 characters, or how the system of the internet teaches people to have no long-term thought process or ability to read anything. But at the same time, I have to say this: we only get the fucking bad news. We get it 24/7. All of this has always happened. We never had so much access access to to what was going on and how devastating it was. And the good news does not get attention. And there are great writers out there, and there are a lot of people that do fucking care and that are doing something. But who's talking about them? Because all we have, and this is part of the Trump manifesto, chaos, confusion, bullshit, lies don't matter. I'll have a new one tomorrow. I never said that. What did I say? He doesn't even know what he's fucking saying. As a matter of fact, on one of the recent podcasts, I read one of his speeches as an exit. Anybody else would be institutionalized. But I mean, you've dealt with these subjects too. You've written a lot of, essays about just the lack of humanity. I mean, but again, is there a solution? I mean, maybe the solution, I'm being sarcastic and sadistic. Oh, yeah, the solution is just blow up a whole country, cut everyone out of there, send them elsewhere, and rebuild into a utopia that only exists as a financial loophole for cunts like that are in the White House. It's just absurdity. Again,
I'm going to say that's not the solution. I'm going to throw it out there and say that's not a good solution. No,
I don't think so either.
Well, I mean, neither do investors. I mean, that's the joke.
Nobody thinks it's a good idea.
No, even if imperialism, even though fucking John Bolton's a piece of shit, he was right when he was saying, he's like, yeah, there's control risk and how you actually do storm in and take over a country and make money off of it. You have to have
the way they talk about people's lives.
Well, and the thing is, excuse me, assholes, but there's so much devastation in America, so many billions of dollars of damage due to the climate problem they don't want to admit is real. But let's just go bulldoze a country that we've already destroyed with our bombs, which will take about 10 years. And I love, somebody was saying, there was an article I read, why don't we send all the Palestinians to Mar-a-Lago? Hey, yeah, I think it's a great idea. Hey, he's married 2 immigrants. Why doesn't he marry 2 million? All right, let's see.
This is what they need. They need us we're ideas women,
I mean, enough with the chuckles. Let's. Part of me is just laughing at the absurdity and stupidity. And again, I don't believe the vote count. I don't believe in the Electoral College. I don't believe any of it is real. I don't believe the stock market is real. If you can't count the money in your hand, I don't believe you really have it. So all of it's a fucking fictional fraud. It's all 1984 all over again. But now let's talk about the 1990s to the early 2000s. Let's go back.
Everything was a simpler time.
Oh, Lord, was it? See, the thing is, we just didn't know how bad it was then.
Interesting. Yeah.
You were in New York. Where were you born?
I was born in New York City.
One of the few. One of the brave.
One of the few. The Marines, yes. I only ever lived there until I left 2 years ago.
Wow.
When I was ready to go, I was ready to go. But until then, you've moved a lot, right?
I lived more often in other places than in New York, but I am back in Brooklyn now trust me, every 2 days I'm like, where next? I'm a nomad at heart. But so did you start doing photography before joining Speedball Baby, the band?
Yeah, I mean, I was always taking photos, and I was in the punk scene downtown, and I moved out really young, and I was always trying to, I think because I moved like immediately into this terribly chosen relationship that was really violent. I think in some ways I was just trying to control what the hell I was looking at in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. So I was always documenting. I was looking through the frame. I was framing it literally and figuratively. I was writing, always journals. So I was always taking pictures. And then I kind of also wanted to be like, I wasn't a musician, so I wanted to be the icon for the Clash.
Wait, you want to, excuse me, I missed you on that. You weren't, most people who weren't musicians started doing music in New York around that period, but you said you weren't a musician, so you wanted to
make icons out of the musicians. Yeah. So I started photographing everything around me.
And by the way, let me just say, your photographs are really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
They really are grand. I mean, they're gorgeous. I was revisiting your website, and they're really fantastic. Yeah,
I really
gorgeous.
Appreciate that. I mean, I remember photographing you in your house in LA after I met you through Acclaimed, and I always loved that memory of almost falling through a trap door in your house. It was lovely.
Honey, I just almost fell through a trap door at the University of Chicago 2 weeks ago. My knee still hurts. That's why it's elevated. I might have a lawsuit coming. You almost fell through a trap door? I don't remember that.
Yeah, you had it. I think you had an area rug just sort of put over it.
Oh, okay, I got
it. You're like, look out for the trap door.
Oh.
No lawsuits pending. It was very
maybe eventually we'll both sue somebody for whatever. So that was when you were so so now so back to, were you doing you were doing the photography before Speedball Baby or just at the same time? Or
yeah, I was sort of like jumping in and out of bands and doing a little singing and doing a little bass playing, but not knowing who I was or what I was meant to be in those, just sort of emulating what I liked and taking photos and
just trying to find your creative alley.
Yeah. Apart from the people I had grown up shaped by, so just trying to figure out who the fuck this person was. And I'm still working on that. But it got better when Matt Verderay, who's the guitarist and created Speedball Baby with Ron Ward, the singer, they had gotten together and they were doing these happenings, just sort of like these things that nobody knew it was supposed to be, but it was exciting and it was immediate. And he asked me to come and play bass because we'd become friends, and I didn't know what the hell was supposed to happen, and that was part of the freedom of it. That feeling, it's just like invention on the spot, and the electricity created in a space in a moment, and something's going to happen, and that really appealed to me. So it just kind of went from there and built from there, and then I was just sort of holistically looking at documenting, touring, playing music,
and so let's talk about how Laws of the Bandit Queens came about. So I mean, and this is how it usually happens. This is how the Lydia and Spin happens. You meet one person, they introduce you to another. You know who you want to talk to. You might not know who you want to talk to, and you just go from there. Who are some of the other women that are in the Laws of the Bandit Queen? And that's still available, isn't it? Laws of the Bandit.
It is, I think. It feels like a lifetime ago. Maybe
it is. It is. It is.
Yeah, it feels like somebody else's lifetime ago. Yeah, you're in it. Yay, big mark. Exene's in Janine Garofalo, Sandra Bernhard, Alice Walker, Cheryl Swopes, people that just really were exciting me about the idea of, because I'd been touring a lot and it was a very male-centric environment, and starting to feel very alone in my way of looking at the world. So I was just Janine Garofalo, you remember her?
Of course I do. She's a great sarcastic comedian, kind of the original Aubrey Plaza, kind of the original.
So good.
Janine Garofalo, Aubrey Plaza, who I also love. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah, she interviewed Speedball Baby, and I just sort of lied. And I made up a book. I was like, I'm doing a book, and it's about women that I love, and they inspire me. And I said, will you be in it? And she's like, yes, as long as there's no hair and makeup. And I was like,
wow, wait a minute. Whoa. How anti-Kardashian were we then? And to this day.
Right? Beautiful, because I didn't have any money, so that really helped. And I had lied about it and made up the whole thing. But I meant it. And she said yes. And then once she said yes, it sort of, Ann Magnuson, I met, contacted through somebody I knew. I avoided publicist, avoided official. It is.
Well, you DIY'd or DIM as I like to. You did it myself.
Exactly. But it ended up, it was a time where publishers were actually giving you advances and publishing goddamn books. Yeah. And out with Random House.
Yeah, and it's a great book because it's a wide and broad spectrum of women. It's musicians, comedians, actresses, whatever. I mean, writers. So that's what's interesting about it is it's not, there's a lot of books coming out now that are focusing on one genre or one type or whatever, which is important. But this was rather expansive. It's still available. Laws of the Bandit Queens. So then, yeah. I'm saying, yeah. So you decided to have a child. Somebody had to. Somebody had to do it for me.
Works.
They say it takes a village. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, my village, raise the children because I can't. All my friends are children.
Do you know? I mean, I'm so on board with that. I'm so tired of the pressure and social judgment and pressure about all of it. And then when you have one, there's all this like, why didn't you have two? You failed. There's some fucking bullshit. So you always have to be real about it.
It's so wrong. It's like, why didn't you have two children? Why don't I have 10 husbands? Because I don't even want one. And my theory about children doesn't fit in, doesn't come out. I'm glad you had the capacity.
I mean, it broke me physically. No, but
I'm sure it did.
it took me a while. I mean, I was almost
To
40.
recover and walk again.
I'm still working on it.
No.
Yeah, no, I had a stepdaughter then when that book came out, and then that sort of sparked in me the next book, which was like, holy shit, motherhood. And I, just wanted to carry the journey of like reinvention and at things through a feminist lens or through a woman's, a full experience of
An alternative, an
woman.
alternative and creative person's
Yes.
experience in having that.
Yeah.
And having a
Yeah.
child, not having that like it's an object.
I assume
Yeah.
your son with you in the UK?
No, I left him. Yeah, no, I
well,
brought
I don't know.
him.
I don't know.
Why are you going to turn him over to me? Hey, he's almost ready.
How did he adapt? How did he adapt to that move?
I mean, he did great, man. He was 12, and I don't know. I think in some ways it maybe suits his personality more. He's pretty chill. He's a real observer. He takes in everything and spits it out in this very interesting, funny, smart way. So,
like his mom.
Oh, well, that's very kind. 2.0 version.
What's he interested in?
He plays that. Oh, yeah, piano. Graphic novels. He's just written a song. Beautiful long hair, just beautiful, swirly, curly. He's just lovely.
And it's great. And you had a good one. I mean, because you can't choose. It's a crapshoot. Let's face it. We couldn't choose our parents, and we can't choose our kids. But
Well, that's the truth. But you know what? I think I'm so fucking glad I waited for a man who was like, nope, I have to make sure I'm there, 50-50 on board, dedicated, it matters. So I could have done a lot worse.
All I can say to you, Allie Smith, is congratulations for that one.
Thank you very much.
Now let's talk about the latest, which came out last year, The Ballad of Speedball Baby, which is your memoir, which traverses the rails, basically about the ups, downs, ins, and outs of your life, both on the road and on the Lower East Side in New York, etc., and the trials and travails and tribulations, and basically the survival of such. Important memoir.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're going to read us something. Sure. What did you want to say before you read?
I just often say that it's like surviving the slings and arrows that society reserves for women who refuse to comply. Because that really is it. Like you and I have both doubled down on this commitment to our own life of adventure, our own life of entitlement to creativity, all of it, not being an appendage, not being ancillary. And there's a price to navigate. I'm not going to say because I wouldn't trade it for the world, but
it's what we do.
A lot. Yes.
It's what we're born to do. Yeah. So now you're going to bless us with a reading from it.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it, honey bunny.
We could do a little bit of like a little snapshot of New York. We could do Croatia.
No, you can do whatever you want. This is the Lydian spin. You read what you want to read.
Wow,
I know. I'm sorry, we can't afford to. We don't have the whole book to read because we have to go to a sound check in 45 minutes.
I thought you were going to say 45 seconds. I was going to.
Oh, honey, we're no. I'm no 60. I'm no 60-second Johnny.
Okay, I'll read this one, and then we could read another one later if you want.
Thank you. Yes, I want.
All right. There's a little snapshot of walking over to the East River in New York on the Lower East Side one day. So it's just sort of a snapshot of that time and place. At the next corner, the Cool Man ice cream truck slowly rolls by, its siren song a warped serenade for certain locals. It's an open secret that the driver deals cocaine and heroin out the side window. Everyone knows that. Except that is for the sweating, sugar-starved kids chasing it down, desperate for a lick of the non-existent soft serve in the back. The only thing sadder than watching that truck not stop for them is watching when it does. The methodical, hypnotic, metal-on-metal chug from the train crossing the Williamsburg Bridge above comes in rounds of two. A grown man swerves around me on a child's bike with a silver banana seat and high handlebars. Paper bags and used food containers blow around my feet. A patrol car rolls slowly, going the wrong way down Delancey. Garbage bags are piled high everywhere, broken open, spilling rice and milk onto the streets. Passing under the bridge, I move quickly, alert. A few bodies twitch under the blankets on the ground. The carcass of a pigeon with a fork in it. Across the highway, the river up against the shore made of broken rocks, collapsed piers, and rubble. The Brooklyn skyline across the East River is low and feels like it exists hundreds of miles away from the bustling island of Manhattan that I'm just clinging like an ant to the edge of. Eddies curl below my feet, rainbow-colored iridescent oils twisting on their surfaces. The effect is hypnotic, compelling, drawing me in, drawing me down. This city, it's all I've ever known. I can travel, but I'll never wrench it out of my insides. It's broken and jagged and frightening. It's merciless and cranky. The abrasive noises, the random desperate cries, "They killed Johnny!" That was one of them. A man waving a bloodied shirt in front of himself to prove it, and I just marveled as I walked on by. I can dance this dance all day and on into the night. I know the rhythm and the rhymes. I'm magnetized to the madness of the city like I am to music. But occasionally, teetering, not so sure-footed, unsteady, I wonder whether it will turn on me suddenly and swallow me whole.
Beautiful. So accurate. By the way, I always thought a Mr. Softy truck might kidnap me. I thought maybe Mr. Softy trucks are actually serial killers. And every time I'd hear them, they're coming for me. Well, by the FBI's estimate, there's 500 truck driving serial killers, and I'm sure some of them drive Mr. Frosty's soft service.
I mean, definitely a lot of drug dealers were in those things. But 2 years ago, I was in Rockaway, and I walked by one, and this guy had one of these fancy giant lens cameras. He was like a undercover cop or a private investigator. He was like peeking around. He's inside the truck and was like taking photographs of like people on the board. I don't know what was going on, but definitely had more than one job. That's for sure.
I don't trust an ice cream truck. I'm just saying it's not right. It's not right. First of all, you might die if they actually have ice cream. I don't trust that they never wash their hands. It's filthy.
Oh no, those fucking reconstituted soft serve and milkshake machines are usually filthy. They're rarely cleaned out.
Not to mention the drugs that they might be dealing. I mean, I'm sure they're not pure from the source. So let's just say it's a scary situation.
It's a scary situation.
We went to the #1 ice cream science institution yesterday in Penn State as a pit stop on the road.
Tim's design. He insisted we had to stop.
What is it?
Tell her, Tim.
It's so Penn State is considered #1 in the world for ice cream science. So if you're
wait, rewind. What is ice cream science?
Well, I mean, industrialized food science is a whole thing, obviously, and a lot of schools, particularly ones that have agricultural programs, have all types of things going on. And just happened to be that Penn State is #1 for ice cream, and we were driving right through it. I go, why don't we stop and have ice cream?
No, Tim insisted we stop and have some ice cream. That was a mandate. So we did.
They have a little cafe. They make it there in the school, and you can try some. It was rich and delicious, I have to say.
Well, and the thing is, so we're with 4 people. We're with Matt Nelson, myself, Tim Dahl, our good friend Mikey Hoffman, and the 3 of us, that would be me, Mike, and Tim, get Death by Chocolate. Matt Nelson has to get in a cup. And I told her, stop, that's enough. I mean, the cups were like, and Matt Nelson comes with a football-sized ice cream cone of popcorn-flavored vanilla ice cream.
Weird.
It was a joy for some and an agony for others.
Well, the thing is, most
remember when we used to be really naughty on tour, and now we stop and get a fucking ice cream. I'm $10 losing it.
I wanted to try it, and the thing about most mass-produced ice cream is pumped with air. This was very dense, so it wasn't so easy to eat.
I ate half. I mean, it was so delicious, but so
easy.
Yeah, I mean, it was delicious.
So easy to eat.
But the thing is, then I turned into Mr. Frosty because I did see a young gentleman of about 20, I called it a Lunchable, eating a strawberry ice cream cone dressed in camouflage. And I'm like, damn, I got to get him in the van. Oh, how things turn around.
And the story goes.
I'm not no. We're gonna hear another one of yours. We know enough of mine. We'll just say there are Lunchables everywhere, but I take it. I'm not on a lunch. I'm not. I'll just say that's enough.
So what I'm taking from this story is that you lured a young child man into a van with some ice cream. Is that what happened?
Well, that would be delicious.
Not judging. No judgment.
It wouldn't be the first time, Ellie. Come on, you know me. Come on. Is that all it takes now? Is to just put a pillowcase over their head and shove them in a van?
God. Oh
Just
my
a
God.
taste.
All right, okay,
Just
just a taste, just a taste.
Just a snack.
He was eating strawberry. He was a strawberry. What can I say? I couldn't resist. You know me, it's hashtag you're next. I have to turn the beating around.
Hashtag you're next.
May we have, please, another delightful
Yes, ma'am, you may.
piece of your delightful memoir called The Ballad of Speedball Baby by Allie Smith. Thank you, darling. Here we go.
I don't know where to start with this one, so I'll just start. But I'll tell you the preamble, which you'll have to read, people, listeners of Earth. Pretty funny. This is crossing the border into Croatia. So this is like, now we're in Europe and the world is opening up and it's all,
What year? What year?
I believe this was after our MCA deal, which fell apart. Spoiler. So this must be 97.
Okay.
So, and it's not that long after the Croatian, war. And you don't have internet, you don't have cell phones, everything. Yeah. So everything's very fucking new,
And it's important to play in places like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to read two little chunks out of this, but I will say that before this, what happened was that we were pulled over, predictably.
Of course.
And that Ron, who had a history of addiction, but would always clean up before the tours, had taken being very, very good and taking lots of vitamins. And so he had this enormous sandwich bag full of hundreds of vitamins that were loose, and they just looked like big bag of drugs. So all hell broke loose.
What's amazing, Ellie, is you picked that story. I just had the same situation 1 week ago with Mark Hurtado doing our suicide tribute. He pulls out a giant bag of pills for his pain. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And even the customs guy said, I've never seen so much medicine in my life. All right, get out of here. Go ahead. Perfect.
Wow.
Perfect simpatico story. This happened a week ago.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay. And after that, I need to tell you a small Alan Vega story. Anyway,
can't wait.
Segue that the guard that came to deal with my bag found my tampons, got hugely embarrassed, turned bright red, booked it,
Perfect.
sent out to deal with me. Okay. So this is the female guard come to deal with me. We stand together face to face in the discomfort of the sudden silence until abruptly she gestures towards the building. Inside, she corrals me from behind to a small, empty cinder block room. The only light comes weakly from a row of squat windows near the ceiling on one wall and dissipates into gray haze halfway to the floor. The door's lock clicks behind her and I start to sweat, a strange internal sweat, like sweat is gushing behind my eyeballs, a private, hellish little panic. I shuffle awkwardly to the center of the cold concrete floor, stop and look sheepishly in her direction. Surely soon she'll raise her finger to pursed lips to make sure we don't get caught before offering me a pull of Rajika from her hip flask. We'll fake the sounds of her flogging me. No, please stop. I'll wail as our shoulders shake with stifled laughter about all the going on outside this room. We'll roll our eyes about how she'd been sent to deal with the embarrassing messiness of my womanhood. I'll promise to compose myself before meeting back up with the others, and it'll be just like a sleepover with a very socially awkward, mean-eyed girl your mother made you invite over who showed up with a hip flask of booze and a machine gun, right? Off, she gestures. I raise my eyebrows. Oh, so we're really doing this. She leans against the door, stone-faced, as I slowly unzip my jeans and lower them. I can see now she's probably a couple of years older than me, maybe 30. I consider inviting her to that night. I remember that even under the best of circumstances, our band isn't for everyone. With my pants crumpled around my ankles, I give a little shrug and smile weakly. Up, she commands. I tilt my head like a confused dog, then slowly lift my t-shirt, exposing my road-weary bra. I stand there, wavering slightly in the soft gray light of the room, my pants down, my shirt pulled up to prove there aren't any pouches of heroin strapped around my waist. Her hand clutches her machine gun. Everything good and fun and enviable is outside of this room, and for all I know is driven or been dragged away. I can't hear anything out there. Who will come to get me now? In the seconds that pass like years, I study my captor. Has she chosen this job or has it chosen her? Has the war hardened her past the point of return? Does she like music? Does she like anything? When she looks at me, does she see a spoiled, privileged American living a life of freedom she can't? And does she hate me for it? And what might that hate look like if nobody comes to rescue me from this room? Then, unexpectedly, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude, total and complete. Because even though this woman is comically unfriendly, fate has not put me in this cinder block cell alone and half naked with a man.
Perfect.
I just want to add a tiny little caveat at the end. I skipped part of the chapter, but that night, because there is always that, trial and triumph. And we set up on a stage set inside the ancient ruins of an amphitheater. That night, our music reverberates off crumbling 2,000-year-old walls, escaping into the black sky above, hanging up there with the stars. The kids in the crowd have been through a war and now vibrating with newfound freedom and the certainty that this moment is worth living. It's on their faces and in the way they dress, like they've cobbled together looks and ideas from magazines, album covers, and most importantly, their war-torn dreams. One girl's drawn on 2 thick black eyebrows, but she's drawn them 2 inches above her natural eyebrows, which she hasn't shaved off. And the result is a fantastically bizarre 4-eyebrowed glamour, pure punk, no rules. No clothes from trash and vaudeville at Betsy Johnson, just total reinvention from the ground up, and it's exciting to be around. The last notes of beautiful, haunting Corn River trail off, dismantling into the stardust. And as I listen to them go, my heart pounds. I am alive.
Wonderful. Very good.
Thanks, man.
Trials we've gone through. And yes, so good for it not to be a man with your pants down in a concrete bunker.
It's those little victories, isn't it?
It's those little triumphs.
Tick.
Tick tock.
Tick
You have an Ellen Vega detail you want to reveal.
Yeah, because I know you're doing Suicide Tour.
I've just came off the latest of my ongoing tribute to Ellen Vega and suicide with Mark Hurtado, which is great because I can, get in so much ranting between the minimal lyrics that Ellen Vega has. So it's fantastically fun.
I heard some of it really beautiful. It was very beautiful. Yeah. So Ellen Vega was singing on a record that Matt from Speedball Baby was recording at his studio, New York Head, which is still around, which is the one we recorded in the 90s when it was in his apartment, and now it's on Ludlow Street. And it was towards the end for Alan. And he was singing on Gemma Ray record. I don't know if you know her, but I really like Gemma Ray a lot. And he got there and he just had a stroke, I guess.
Yeah.
So he got to the top of the steps and he looked down. Everybody figured out that he couldn't get these steps down. Yeah. So he couldn't get into the studio to do it. So Matt ran hundreds of feet of cable from the soundboard, from the studio up onto the street. Wow. And they set a chair for Alan on the street.
Perfect.
And he did all the vocals there. Rothio, Matt's wife, Alan's wife, they produced it up there with him, and Matt was down in the studio. And then just as they got the take, the skies opened up and a thunderstorm started out on Ludlow Street, and he's sitting in a chair, tethered, wired up to the studio. So that was it. That was the take, and get him out.
That's
kind of beautiful.
It's Ellen Vega. Absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
Fantastic. Are you doing readings from your book, or what are you doing now? Now the book came out last year. What's
Yeah.
any plans for live, for spoken word readings from the book? Are you doing that? Did you do that?
I did a bunch of events here in
Yeah.
England. I did BBC Sounds. That was really exciting. I did some live events. I went to New York and did a couple of things that were really fun. But other than that, it's mostly been this kind of thing,
Yeah. Great.
virtual. Yeah.
Hey, you can't be everywhere at all times, even though
Yeah.
at least when you're on a
You're doing a pretty good job trying.
podcast, you can. But thank you so much for being on this. I wish you all the best. The book is great. All three books are great. Momma Love, How the Mother Half Lives, Laws of the Bandit Queens, and the Ballad of Speedball Baby. It's every reason and another why I always suggest women should become architects or chemists. We need better drugs and better buildings. Life is hard on the road. Some of us are maybe road dogs and others aren't.
Well, you're incredible and I love you. I haven't seen you in ages and it's so nice to reconnect. And
absolutely. And we do things the others can't do. You birthed an incredible young man. You write about Momma Love. I road dog it. We come together when we come together, and that's the beauty
each
of
to their
technology.
That's right. Let's combine that power.
Absolutely. Thank you, Allie, for reaching out to me again. And Allie Smith,
guys.
Lydia Lunch, and Tim Dahl, the Lydian Spin, spinning on into the stratosphere.
All right.
Helen Vega's up there somewhere. Talk soon, my friend.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.